All right, thank you for being here with us. It's still Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. And at this point in time, the conversation is about to take place. And just as we told you earlier, that we will be looking at the worrisome state of the nation, majorly looking at the oil industry sabotage. There's been so much of back and forth. There's been so much of condemnations and looking at humongous amount of money expended by government to fix refineries, and up till now those refineries ain't there at all. They're not working, they're not functional to total capacity. And what does this portend for Nigeria? A couple of weeks ago, due to the intervention of Mr. President, the Dangote refinery got some respite where Mr. President said, hey, Dangote should be paying in naira to get his fuel and everything, but there are some cabals, as they say, that we have been trying to truncate the existence of Dangote refinery amidst what is happening in the NNPC, the refineries, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, Lake, and Warri. They are not working. And looking at how much has been expended, what does this mean? Where is this sabotage coming from? We'll be looking at oil industry sabotage on the show this morning. Evelyn?
And yes, we have a guest to join us on the show to talk on this. Joining us this morning is Mr. Isiaka Gbadamosi, who is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Gbadamosi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
The name is Isiaka Gbadamosi.
I apologize, Mr. Isiaka Gbadamosi.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get right into the conversation at this time. What do you make of the whole messy situation in our oil industry here in Nigeria? Years have gone by, a lot of monies have been pumped into this industry, yet there is nothing, absolutely nothing to show for it. There are still queues in fueling stations, and the Dangote refinery came on last year with pump and pageantry. A lot of people thought it's going to be a game changer for us here in Nigeria. But as it is right now, it seems that the Dangote refinery also is getting the hit from the nation. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, thank you very much once again for having me. We must take a perspective look at what has been happening in this industry for maybe 2-3 decades now. That will allow us to understand what we are seeing today. And what is it that has been happening? You know that before the industry exited, we had a situation whereby refineries were in a partial state of functionality. And by the time the military completed completely, we were virtually not functioning. And we had the president, who came in 1999, tried to clean up the refinery, did a number of turnaround maintenance, and for 8 years he was in government. He didn't have a handle on those refineries, getting them to function. And as a result of that, towards the twilight of his administration, decided to sell off those refineries to private hands. He did that, but on coming of the next administration, which was President Shehu, he reversed all of the sales, because President Shehu at that time was able to understand the problem of this refinery and the cabal that were surrounding the whole problem with refinery. So from there, the NNPC requested that President Yaradua give them money for turnaround maintenance, and they will get the refinery to work. And since that very time up to this day, none of those refineries have produced anything. And we were spending money on turnaround maintenance, we were spending money on payment of staff who are working there and producing nothing. And all that we do, and we've been doing since, is importing fuel outside the country. Now, at the point in time, we had a group of people, oil marketers, who imported fuel, and we were being paid for it. We were paid for not even bringing in anything. We've seen that from the investigation of the House of Representatives, followed by then one of the representatives in the military as well. So, at the end of the day, we know that there is a very strong cabal or a very strong group of people who will not allow the refinery to work, just for them to bring in petroleum products for sales to Nigeria. And we thought that if we take away the external influence, that is oil marketer, and NNPC is so much importer of this product, maybe that will solve the problem. And that was what Muhammadu Buhari did when he came in. He stopped all the oil marketers from importing, and NNPC became the chief importer. That problem did not stop. It now tells us also that NNPC is also part of the problem. Because as it were now, NNPC is the sole importer and is not able to have a handle on making sure that we have enough and sustained supply of petroleum products. With the coming of Tunde, he decided to allow the oil marketers to come back so that they could do more, and then they also have Dangote refinery coming on that time. Dangote refinery is running against a headwind of the IOC, International Oil Marketers, and NNPC. NNPC has become a factor, a negative factor for me in the oil industry. And because of it, they have more or less seems to be working together the Dangote refinery function optimally. In other climes, Dangote refinery is a game changer. Is the largest refinery in the world today. And every people that has such an infrastructure should be very glad and do not have the reason to start importing. The question we ask ourselves today: what sense does it make for we to import petroleum products from another country, to pay for transportation and then landing costs and storage costs and then all of those costs before we pass them to the customer? And then the supply also becomes a problem. Compared to having a Dangote refinery, who we should feed with cost and then let him produce, he has the capacity to produce enough for the entire country, and let's feed the country. It just doesn't make any common sense that we are not getting it right. Something is very much amiss, and the government needs to look at those who are behind this in the face and tackle them head on.
All right, Mr. Isiaka, let's look at the statement credited to the group managing director of NNPC. It's virtually common to all the dailies today, saying he's going to reveal certain things at the right time. And I just asked myself, just like many Nigerians who are wondering that what is it that he wants to reveal. But then, should NNPC be the sole importer of fuel in Nigeria? And how possible is it to curb the excesses of NNPC?
Well, I'm looking forward to the revelation from the NNPC official. From the information I have, all that I know there is a lot of one within the NNPC sector, and NNPC is not exempted from it. And I look forward to what is going to read. Talking about the issue of NNPC, I think there are a lot of things that are in the Petroleum Industrial Act, the Petroleum Industry Act, that was just passed not too long ago and signed into law by the Muhammadu Buhari, that might need to take a look at. I do not understand why NNPC cannot be overhauled, because it's obvious from what we have seen, the forth and back between NNPC and Dangote refinery. It tells us that a lot of water has been under the bridge, and it means that there is a need for a very serious investigation to unravel some of these rods that are under it, so we could address the problem and then we can move on. If we do not address the problem of NNPC, we will not really be able to solve the problem because NMC is also a fundamental part of the problem.
Well, Mr. Isiaka, this has been ongoing for years. Just as you made mention, sir, the point at which some cabals, as they say, exist there. Are these cabals much more powerful than the federal government of Nigeria?
Well, you see, it depends on the kind of agreement you enter into with some of these cabals. Some of them are external, some of them are internal. Internal, you want that are as obvious for me in one of these, and maybe some of the other people in the oil industry. But you have the IOC, International Oil Company, and there are agreements that we reach with them. And some of these agreements take them a lot of labor and a lot of to do so much. I think some of those things need to be looked at properly. And as Nigeria as a country should look at what is in the best interest of our country. I think it will not be appropriate for us to be appealing to NNPC or the International Oil Organization to please sell crude oil to Dangote refiners. This crude we are talking about is Nigeria's asset, and if it's Nigeria's asset, we should be able to direct and insist on how it is used and to whom we are selling at every point in time. But most of those things might not be able to do by officials because a lot of agreements are entered into standings and memorandum and all of that. So I think we need to dust all of these agreements and look at them again so we can address the problem and solve the problem of the International Oil Company and NNPC at the same time.
All right, so Mr. Gbadamosi, you know, when the Dangote refinery came on board, $20 billion in investment, a lot of people thought, like I said earlier, that it would significantly reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported fuel. But as it is now, it seems we are where we used to be. In fact, some people think that we are even at a worse situation than where we used to be. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, speaking on this issue, said that we are currently selling, refined products to Nigeria. Those selling refined products to Nigeria will lose their lucrative business if Dangote refinery starts operations fully. Now, if this is the case, then what is the hope that as a country we will move forward when it comes to our oil industry? As a country, we will move forward to enjoy the benefits of being the producer of crude. And when Dangote finally comes on board to be able to refine this crude into petroleum, we will buy at a reduced cost.
Well, the situation we find ourselves now is such that it's the one that is going to test this government's will to solve the problem of the oil industry. It has been going on for too long that the international organizations and other international oil organizations in Nigeria and MNPC have given the latitude to operate without much restriction. Now, the truth is that if Dangote functions optimally and is able to provide the supplies to Nigeria, it means that the price of petroleum products will fall. You see that example already in jet fuel. You see that example also in diesel. Dangote is supplying diesel and jet fuel to the country, and the prices are falling. And as a result of that, they will have the same thing happen with the petrol that is generally used around. You see the same thing come to that. Now, this is the problem of things that are imported. If the importation is allowed to continue, it's going to take functioning. It means that business is not going to try. It's not going to be profitable to import because the price of time will be selling is far cheaper because it's going to get the food from Nigeria and it's producing, it doesn't have the bank cost, it doesn't have the storage cost, you just have the production cost, and then you push it into the market. Now, for me, it is the will of the government to do the right thing. This is what is going to test the will of this government. Whether they are ready and they are up to it, to look eyeball to eyeball into the face of both international organizations and fix the problem in the oil industry.
Mr. Isiaka, Nigerians have most of us have been talking. Nigerians have been talking that looking at the humongous amount of money being expended on these moribund refineries. For you as a stakeholder, as a Nigerian, as a public affairs analyst, do you think these moribund refineries should be sold off to build something else?
Thank you very much for that question. That's a very good question. You see, President Sabotage in 2007 arrived at that position, and I'm convinced that it was after a careful study and understanding of the industry. He decided to sell off those refineries. I think as it stands today, the best decision we can do is to privatize or sell those refineries out and use that and the resources coming from it for other productive things in Nigeria. Those refineries are not going to function. The people that are starting with managing them cannot make them work. It doesn't matter for how long we keep shouting and we keep pushing and we keep insisting that we get them turned around, it will not be turned around. They have not been turned around for over a decade now, and none of them has produced anything. So it's as if looking at dead horse. There's nothing you can do about it. So for me, in my opinion, we should sell off those refineries and move and support Dangote and get the IOC to do the right thing, and we are good.
So you don't think that the Port Harcourt refinery that has been touted to, come into operation soonest? I mean, we were told that by the end of last year, the Port Harcourt refinery will start refining crude. But still today, there is nothing to, write home about that. We just learned in the dailies this morning that the National Assembly is to probe $1.5 billion that has been spent on Port Harcourt refinery. So are you saying, Mr. Isiaka, that these refineries should be let go? Let us just let them go and let's focus on Dangote refinery.
See, let's look at what has happened in the past. President Sabotage came to the conclusion that the best option was to sell. President Yar'Adua took them back and decided to fund the turnaround maintenance, and still they did not work. And the same thing with the Muhammadu Buhari did. They did several turnaround maintenance and they did not work. And from what you have said, the refinery were due to commence production December last year, and up to this day, they are not producing. There is no need to a dead horse. As far as I'm concerned, these are dead horse, and we should not continue to waste our scarce resources trying to fix those refineries. The best bet there is for me, what I've observed is that there is too much sabotage, there is too much conspiracy, there is too much interest, vested interest, too much vested interest that will not allow those refineries to function. Dangote refinery was built and put to operation in less than 7 years. So why are we wasting our time on refineries that we spend so much on and still they cannot get to? So the best option for me, let that go and let's focus on Dangote and other private refineries.
Okay, so, and also, what do you think might be the cause of the fluctuation? I mean, let's move over here now to the price of petrol at this time. A lot of people are getting petrol at 850 naira to 900 naira in most filling stations. I mean, where you can get for 580 to 600, I think it should be the NNPC filling stations. What do you think is the main cause of these fluctuations in prices? At some point this year, Nigerians bought for 700 naira, and people thought that would be the highest we can go to buy fuel, not black market now, in fueling stations. Now we are seeing fueling stations selling for 850 to 900. What do you think might be the likely cause, and how can Nigeria, wriggle its way out of this quagmire?
Well, the cost of the foreign products might continue to go up in the foreseeable future. And that essentially is because the exchange rate has gone up also. And all of those things are done. So they have to get orders to clear some of those things. And recently, I think that's about sometime last week, the president directed that the transaction that should be in naira and not dollar in terms of sale of crude oil. Now, you see, I think that would have saved a lot of foreign exchange. Besides that, NNPC is sold, not the sole right now, but we have one or two oil marketers who also import. And what we are doing, if you remember, there was a time there was a pitch, maybe about 3 months ago, and they said it was due to building and logistics issues. And the same thing NNPC said about a week ago, that they had logistics issues and all of that. This is what you get when you are having inefficient organization that is with too many interests and maybe corruption here and there. So, for me, NNPC needs to be playing. There's too much that is at stake for Nigerians, because there is no way we can have continuous supply of petroleum and petroleum products over time. We do not have a public concern who is focused on making sure that his investment does not go down the drain, and is ready to commit everything to make it work effectively and profitably. That is the way we can get the best out of this. To rely continuously on NNPC and oil market out would continue to be disastrous for us, and the cost will continue to increase. We just need to figure out to do our own with them as much as possible.
All right, quickly, Mr. Isiaka, sir, should the federal government be considering modular refineries this period in time, looking at how much money has been expended over the years on moribund refineries?
The option of modular refinery was discussed during the tenure of President Buhari, and I think a number of licenses were issued. I'm not sure if there are any that are taken up still. I know there was one under construction, I think in August, but whether it's operational or functioning is under construction, I do not know. These are things that we ordinarily work if we put a lot of energy in it, and the deal is there, and then there is proper monitoring and evaluation of what we have, and we have a benchmark and a timeline to achieve all of those things. These are things that will really function. But the question is, who are those saddled to bring all of them? NNPC. And you can saddle NNPC with all of this and think to get results. This is most unfortunate. So I think the modular refinery really coming on stream. When even refinery is being.
All right, Mr. Isiaka, we are kind of finding it a bit difficult to hear you clearly, so would appreciate if you can move closer to your phone or whatever gadget you're using to communicate with us, so we can have a smooth and if you can speak louder, it will be appreciated.
Okay.
All right, so now the protests that have rocked the nation in the past few days since August 1st has been about people calling for the subsidy on fuel to be returned. What's your stance on that? And of course, Mr. President has reacted to that, saying that fuel subsidy is gone and gone forever. It cannot be brought back. Do you think the government should consider probably bringing back fuel subsidy for the next maybe 3-6 months so that they can get their act together, come up with a strategy, then before finally removing it?
Well, the return of the fuel subsidy by government would be a victory for the oil companies we are talking about, because that's exactly what they want. And the removal of the fuel subsidy is what has brought us to the point we are today. That's why they are fighting so hard. The oil subsidy is something that is criminal. Everybody knows it. From the investigation that has been done in the past, we've seen that it's something that has not done us any good. We spent so humongous amount of money, and it's not working. Besides that, upon the removal of the fuel subsidy, most of the states, or all the state and local governments, got revenues that were times two their revenues, the one they used to have
The
before the removal.
allocation, the allocation.
The allocation.
Yeah.
Now, so if you now return the subsidy, you mean you are going to now cut all of this revenue that is coming. Virtually, all the states and local governments will find it difficult to run, because most of them are already enjoying this additional revenue that is coming in terms of allocation. So for me, I think the subsidy should be left the way it is. We don't need it. We should just look at how we need the courage and the confidence, the political will to face the problem of the oil sector head on. And if we are able to do that, I think we will be out of the woods maybe in the next few months.
Talking about the additions on the allocations, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State in the news chart recently said that yes, the allocations have increased, but then the purchasing power has decreased drastically. I mean, what they used to buy some years back has also doubled. So it's just same potato. There's no difference.
Oh well, I don't agree with him. I think I agree with the fact that yes, the purchasing power has reduced. I agree with him with the fact that the exchange rate has really affected the purchasing power of Nigerians. But that of government have more money to play with, and as a result of the removal of the subsidy, I think if we have to take away the subsidy and we have to return the subsidy, it's going to worsen the situation. That's my take.
Mr. Isiaka, before we call it a wrap with you this morning, for you, sir, what do you think is the way forward at this period in time in which the economy of Nigeria is, as much as we are so much dependent on oil?
Okay. The first thing we should do is, I think the president needs to summon the NNPC, DMD, and some of the other stakeholders in the oil industry and give them a marching order on what he wants them to do, and give them timelines on when he wants this actions taken, and give them also instruction, make them know that there will be sanctions if it does not get results on this. At the very instance, the NNPC, the IOC, and all other stakeholders know that the president is not going to back down, and the president is serious about getting things done properly, they will sit up, or else they know that they will have to get the stick. Then we need also to look at Dangote refinery and do everything in our power to encourage Dangote, because if Dangote succeeds, it's virtually going to solve about 75% of the issue of our logistic problem in Nigeria as we stand today, in terms of cost and availability. So if we are able to support Dangote to see how it succeeds, that's the Dangote refinery, I think that is better for us. I think with those two suggestions, we should be out of the woods in maybe some few months.
All right, just an extra before we finally let you go, Mr. Isiaka. There have been people who think that this trend of the president being the Minister of Petroleum should end. It started with the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, and really people think it didn't do the nation any good. Now we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu doubling as the Minister of Petroleum. Do you think the president should step aside for a technocrat, a more professional individual to handle that ministry?
Well, I would agree with having a technocrat. Yes, but it should, the NNPC or the oil sector is a sector that should be monitored and supervised directly by the president. But we need also a technocrat to be in the saddle, to know somebody who knows what is being done and what is being, how to manage it. Besides having a minister of state or minister of petroleum who maybe might be political in nature, we need somebody who has understanding, in-depth knowledge, who can advise. It could be a special advisor of the petroleum industry. We used to have something like that in the person of, I think, Ambassador Leeds, Real One. I've forgotten his name now. Real One, something, former petroleum minister. And he was very sound. He understood the industry, and he was able to guide on what to do and how to do. So I think we need that right now.
All right. Would like to thank you, especially Mr. Isiaka Gbadamosi, public affairs analyst and an ISDG advocate, for your time, your takes and submissions this morning. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good
morning. Good morning, sir.
All right. And that's the conversation this morning. It's on the state of the nation. The oil sector is a major and critical sector in Nigeria. You know, everyone will agree to that. And the earlier we get it right in the oil sector, the better for us as a country. That's the show this morning. We'll make a return for tomorrow for another interesting time on Morning Spring. Tomorrow is Friday, and as you know, it's my best day of the week. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, asking you to offer yourself a productive day.
And thanking you all indeed for being here with us, and most especially you, our viewers out there. We'll be back again tomorrow, just like Evelyn has said, which for me is the beginning of more work for me again. My name is Tunde Idowu. Good morning.